Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classics, Known Classics. This is episode number 3386, double number 3280. Those of you curious, though, with my last comic history, it is not the end of the series, it's just the end of that particular topic. Yeah, because I don't plan to do any more of those highlights of Marvel, because I started in late 04. I went to practically 2019. I think I'm pretty much basically, like, that's kind of in a way, basically, me saying I'm done talking about that period of time. Because I pretty much discussed everything I wanted to. There might be stuff I'll expand upon this series, per se, but in the case of talking about comic history, yeah, I'm done with that. Talking about that particular time period, because, well, yeah. So, we're here discussing, basically, this one definitely is published on Image under Skybound. The other one is currently under Image, but it's not written by the original anymore. Nope. This of course is The Walking Dead Compendium 2. Art by Charlie Allard. This collects issues 49 through 98 of the series. We start off with basically the aftermath of the previous story arc, where the prison where the Rick Grimes' group was staying at was pretty much in the way, pretty much was destroyed. We had several casualties, being, his wife, I thought it was his daughter, but turns out it was actually his stepdaughter. Yeah, the governor killed both of them. There were a few others, and just him and his son Carl, and basically they're on their own for a while until they run into Mahone. Yes, they run into her again. And of course, that Carl was first going to give her a hug. They're very happy to see him. Eventually put a lot of people who actually did survive, like eventually on to Glenn, Maggie, Andrea, which of course they kind of basically plant seeds in these issues for their relationship, which will go forward. Reunited with Dale, but not this point anyways, as everybody's reunited, and then they run into a man named Armstrong, who is this big muscular guy who worked for the United States government. He's with a woman named Rosia, who's actually someone who he's sleeping with. I think it's I'm not saying it's his wife. I think it's probably his girlfriend. Excuse me. And there's also this guy who claims to be a scientist, a government scientist. Actually, he's just a high school teacher. So they can't get in contact with the government, probably because basically government at this point doesn't exist in the series because everybody's turned to zombies. So they reunite with each other. Though I remember in the one version of the trade for this one that they do kind of unveil the reason why the zombies exist, because it was done by complete accident by the U.S. government. That's the reason we have this. And then they go to Herschel's farm. Herschel's gone. He's dead. But his farm is still there. And then Rick goes with, I think it was not Mahone, but basically goes with Carl, kind of back to Atlanta briefly, where he runs into Morgan. Yes, a guy who is not seen since the opening issues of the series. And his young son has been turned to a zombie. I have no idea why Kirkman turned a very interesting character into a zombie. I get the fact the thing is, they mentioned it's been like a few months since Rick last saw him. And then Rick kind of convinces him to basically just tell Morgan to kill his zombie son. He technically does, he just frees him. And he just leaves him alone. His son is never seen again in a series after this. Morgan he's with the group very briefly. Ends up in a relationship with Mahone for a while. It doesn't last very long, and then Morgan commits suicide. Probably because basically can't cope with the death of his son. Well, his son be gone. So then of course first they stay at this church for a while. Yes, they're in this pastor, stay at this church for a bit. And then of course basically, they're there for a bit, and then we have a guy who approaches them, who, I kid you not, basically, he convinces Rick's group to basically come to the community. Yes, it's basically kind of like a small town, or it's run by a former politician who Yeah, him and his wife are sort of an open marriage. Also in these issues, he sees Andrea and he basically openly hits on her. At some points, he wants to kiss her, maybe have sex with her, but she is like, no, not interested. He does it a few times, but he doesn't overdo it per se. He's basically... And, like, at one point, basically, there's a zombie outbreak. Actually, not a zombie, but basically, zombies do break in. You do see his wife. His wife gets killed. Armstrong's girlfriend gets killed in the attack. And also, thanks to a disagreement later on when Rick takes over as leader of the community, Rick's son Carl is shot in his eye. Though he does survive thanks to a doctor, which when they first introduce her, she's basically wearing her lab coat and she's in her underwear. Though she just put her clothes on later on. And I think the guy she's with her might be her boyfriend or could be her nurse. It's not really very clear. So Carl is healed up, and, well, he's not exactly fully healed because he does suffer to partial amnesia. He does ask where his mom is, and when Rick mentions Judy to her, that's basically his half-sister, he does not remember them. So he goes to partial amnesia. He does know who Sophia is, a character he is mostly there growing up alongside her for the remainder of the series. And then we have another invitation to another group known as the Hilltop. Just basically form a trade agreement. And, well, and then they mention someone by the name of Negan. Yes. Basically, these later issues in this book are there to set up the debut of a big character. A character who become pretty much basically, along with Rick and Mahone, probably one of the most recognizable characters from the Walking Dead series. And he's introduced roughly 100 issues into the series. And you're thinking, wait a minute, why would the comic do that for? Where, like, people know who Rick is. He's the main character. People know who Mahone is because she's a black woman with a katana. Okay. But, and people know who Carl is because he's Rick's son. And he basically later on in the series, after his eye sort of heals up, he starts wearing an eye patch, which he will wear that for the remainder of the series. But aside from these three characters, Negan is like another big character who is there. Like, he shows up. He's going to show up really soon. And I'll show you what the guy looks like because he's not on this cover, because he will be in the next volume. So he becomes a big driving force in the series. Like, he's here from the moment he shows up. He's here practically from that start. He's there until practically the end. This guy is probably, aside from Rick and Mahone, probably one of the most popular characters in the Walking Dead comic book. Yes, the character Dwayne from the show is the most popular character in the show because he was original for the show, but Negan in the comic is basically very iconic. I'll show him next time I talk about him, but these are excellent issues. Now, the series is only lasts 193 issues, and since I am 98 issues in, and that's 2 compendiums, by the way, which means I now have currently is less than 100 issues left to go. I now have 95 issues left to go for the entire series, and then I'll be done with Walking Dead. Yeah, Walking Dead is definitely something I've been interested in reviewing for some time, and now almost 100 issues in, I'm enjoying it. Yeah, it's a series published in black and white. I think it's one of 2 in the last 25 years that basically is published in black and white. The other being Black Magic. Yeah, that was published in black and white as well. Everything else, mostly is published in color. And this is basically recently while I've been reading comics. So there's that. Overall, I give the Walking Compendium roughly a 10 out of 10. Next up we have is, if I can find the book here. Where are you? This book right here. Now, some of you are going to be very happy with the fact I'm doing this particular franchise of books. And this being Hack Slash. Yep, on the cover there, that is Cassie Hack, the main character of the series. And There's a guy with a big bulky guy who's kind of like a brother figure to her. His name is Slash. He is, you might think, oh, because her partner's like, oh, maybe she's in love with him. Not really, no. The way that Cassie Hack is written in this series, it's shown very early on because her creator basically kind of out of there as a lesbian. Yeah, she's an open lesbian. Which, don't have a problem with that at all. And mostly put, the whole thing with Cassie Hack is that she kills slashers. And this is Hack Slash Deluxe Edition Volume 1. And this, mostly put, is comprised of, like... Now, of course, you have Tim Seeley on the writing on here, along with the artwork, along with Stefan Castelli and Steve Dean. Now, these are your books here. You have Emphasize, Girls Gone Dead, Combat Carnage, Hack Slash vs. Evil Ernie. Yes, it's common call that. The Land of Lost Toys, Trailers, Blood and Nuts, Renegade Knight Italy, Tub Club, Obituary, Dead Celebrities, One Spin, Slasher Snow, Slice Hard, Hack Slash vs. Chucky. Yes, she fights Chucky in this book. And she's like, oh yeah, Charles Lee Ray, like Slice Stranglers, like, oh yeah, Cassie Hack, kill some good psychos. Slice of Life. And this is all basically a lot, it's all written by Tim Seeley. But he only does one book's artwork, and that's Slice of Life. Everything else in this book, everything else published in here. Now, mostly put, now Land Lost Toys is a miniseries. Enthusiasm, Girls Gone Dead, Combat Carnage, Trailers, Slice Heart prequel, and Slice Heart itself. And the crosses, everything else here is mostly loud one-shots. So, in the case of Emphasize, basically, this is like the first comic book. It's kind of a minor recreation of Friday the 13th, where you just have Slash kill another slasher, who apparently is like, oh yeah, I think he's, well, actually it's Cassie posing as a slasher victim, and kills the hacker, and this is her first outfit. Now, Cassie Hack herself mostly stays in the same design for all the comic books. Occasionally, of course, Slash will call her Cassandra, but she's always for Cassie Hack. Yeah, and in this first book here, there's one. Well, there gets one point in the book we have a guy. He's looks like he's a big trick, but nobody's his girlfriend. And then looks like these two are about to have sex, and then of course, basically, then she's allergic to cats, and then a snake pops up, and then another slasher kills them. And they would see a guy who's obviously standing in for John Constantine because of the way the face is designed. Yeah, I'm sure probably Tim Seeley probably told us, hey, can we draw a guy who looks similar to John Constantine, the same face, but wear different outfits so we're not consumer DC? They're like, sure, no problem. And, by the way, the crossover with Eve, Ernie, and Chucky are the first of lots of crossovers with a bunch of franchises. There's a few other crossovers that she has. You're like, really? She crossed over these series? Oh, yes. So, really cool one-shot, this one. It just standard stuff, basically, to start off. And we even see a guy, we even see, like, possibly other slashers. One who is obviously a stand-in for Pinhead. Except there's no pins in his head. We have one of the Killer Clowns in Outer Space, who's stand-in for Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, a few other characters. We have this guy here who I think is supposed to be a stand-in, not for Norman Bates, probably one of the other slashers. So, and she's not killing with the exception of Chucky. She's not necessarily taking on actual slashers from the movies per se. It's just that she just kills stand-ins to basically poke fun at this little genre. And then we see her take a shower later, and then like a beast inside of her. And then we have Girls Gone Dead, which obviously this is a take on Girls Gone Wild. Obviously, and because the fact it's called this, and the thing is, well, there's some slasher action going on, and yeah, then Cassie joins a fraternity. Yep, we have one slasher, and this one slasher here, and there's one comic in here that does now this comic here particularly opens her a possibility that she is well, the fact that she enjoys kissing women. Yes, this is this comic here, Girls Gone Dead. We see him make out with a girl, which means, well, kind of, yes, she is a faggot lesbian. And at one point later on in the series of stories, she does get a girlfriend, and I think the girlfriend dies. Yes. So then, of course, basically Slash kills the priest killer, and Cassie fights the other killer, and then goes to we have Combo Carnage, which is obviously her trying to deal with a killer cosplayer. And that's kind of what this book is. Basically, deal with a cosplayer, kills other people. Yeah, it's quite interesting. Oh yeah, and also then we have this chubby guy here who reads a book. And then we hear somebody saying, turn the page. And it turns out here, I'm not going to show it because it's disgusting. He has a creature inside his belly. And he says this: the world will be safe. We have destroyed the evil that is Scotty Young. Yes, because all comic related, of course, doing Scotty Young, because of course probably Tim Seeley is friends with the guy, or probably he just knows him. So yeah, and that's our killer basically. Oh, he does die by the end of the book. And then we have Hack Slash versus Eve Ernie. This is the first of two crossovers we have here, and Eve Ernie, I believe, was the debut of another character who's associated with him. Yeah, this is Eve on Eve Ernie's artwork. It's basically her into World Eve Ernie. Where it's like lots of slashing, and Eve Ernie is himself actually have his comics published by Dynamite. So, after Eve Ernie stuff, you think, okay, what's next? Then we have Land of Lost Toys, which, based on what I see here, it's obvious take on Puppet Master. Or probably Demonic. It's actually, no, this is more take on Demonic Toys. Those of you curious, though, about Demonic Toys, it is a B horror movie, kind of made by the same studio. It's made by the same studio who made Puppet Master. It's a B-level movie created by Charles Band. He's director. Well, this is a studio. Basically, these are B-movie slashers. Where, obviously, these are evil toys come to life. And this is kind of a mix between Puppet Master and Demonic Toys. How do I know about these things? Because I've seen them. And I enjoy Puppet Master. Puppet Master is a great series. I've seen, I know the thing is 12 movies in the series. I own, a majority of it on DVD, believe it or not. Yes. Demonic Toys. Here's the weird thing with that series. You have the original movie, and then you had two crossovers, and then when they did the sequel, Demonic Toys 2, those crossovers, I mean, the one with Puppet Master, that was obviously non-canon because of the following sequels, Puppet Master, but the first sequel, that was even non-canon too, because that crossover a guy called Dollman. No, not DC's Dollman, a different character. Yeah, that was deemed non-canon due to Demonic Toys 2. Basically made those crossovers non-canon. That's why I think the first crossover had a character from those movies. And mostly put it, this book here is just Cassie Hack versus Evil Toys. Yep. Who are, one of them basically is like an evil He-Man. Yeah. I thought this comic was really cool. I kind of like the fact Tim Seeley did this. To do a nod to two movies I have heard of. If anybody's curious about Puppet Master or Demonic Toys, look them up. They're probably pretty easy to find. I'm sure you could probably... Here's the thing. I originally watched Puppet Master on YouTube. Yeah, someone actually uploaded, I think it was the first 8 movies on YouTube. Yeah. One of the movies actually has the puppets versus Nazis. Now that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. And then we have trailers, which is basically just Cassie Hack going through a bunch of trailer stuff, and also this weirdish artwork. Yeah. Where it's like her versus first Onita and Kamikaze, which is obviously a bunch of Japanese stuff. And then it comes to another instance of lesbian in this book, by having these girls go to a hot spring, and we have girls making out and, well, a bunch of lesbian stuff. And this is an instance of Cassie Hack being a lesbian due to the fact a girl she's sharing a room with decides to make out with her, and these two have sex. Yep. Now, does Slash have a problem with this? Not really, no. He's fine with it, per se. It's her business. He's not getting involved. And then we have this weird parody of, like, Jaws, where you have a woman get bitten by this weird-looking shark, and then this other shark gets bitten by a bigger shark, what would look like a great white. And then we have through slashing through the snow, which this is an obvious take on Silent Night, Deadly Night. I've seen a lot of Slash movies. That's all I know about this stuff. Yeah, and it is basically done in a kiddie-ish art style, where, yeah, here's the art style here. This is obviously like a children's style artwork done with horror theme. Then we have Slice Hard, which is where we have a stand-in for Pinhead, Killer Clown. It's basically just Cassie Hack in this one shot here. Just happened to take on. So these guys are Mortimer Stick, Exo, Walking Man, How Can We Devil, Ass Angel. And, well, one of these characters, I think it's the Pinhead stand, he actually gets killed by being thrown off a bridge. Yes. Yeah. And throughout, so she's killing these other slashers who were just hired. Yeah. Ass Angel herself is killed by Slash, well, actually it's by the Pinhead guy, who puts his guarding utensils through her head. And throughout this, these serial killers are easily killed off here. And then we go to a cross like everyone would love, Hack Slash versus Chucky, which, yes, basically, they do acknowledge the first movie is kind of set in the same continuity. I'm thinking, like, you're probably thinking, like, how in the world does she know about Chucky? Probably read about him. Yep. And this is a hilarious scene where he's like, come on, I'm on the damn floor. There we go. Go like that. Yeah, for a share. And Cassie's like, Chucky. Chucky is Cassie Hack. He's like, you little bastard. You can stay there, you little rat. Yeah, we both on the ambulance. And she's like, Charles Lee Ray, the Lakeshore Struggler. At body count at least in the 40s. At the least, you're the most notorious slashers in the world. Stuck in the body of a toy doll. I'm not helping you do anything except die. And he's like, yeah, and you're Cassie Hack, Slayer of Killers. You took on some good psychos. Guys of their own hearts. Sooner than I take this baby, this is so funny. And they reluctantly work together, and, well, they get to this one area, and then they start fighting each other. He gets on top of her. Oh, and the thing about Charles Lee Ray is, he has a potty mouth. Yes. And I would not have been surprised about the fact that in this body, he wanted to have sex with Cassie Hack because she's hot. I would not have been surprised. Yeah, given the fact what happened in Bride of Chucky, basically, it's something else altogether. Yes. Bride of Chucky was weird. Oh my gosh, it's one of the most weirdest slash movies I've ever seen. And you're probably thinking, does Cassie kill Chucky in the book? Yeah, she does. She does slice him up, of course. And he gives Deuce, and they fight each other once again. And Bat says, kiss it. And then stabs her in the thigh, and then he gets eaten by a freaking crocodile. And then Cassie has to basically get bandaged up while covering her chest up, while another one would basically look like a doctor, maybe, to fix her up. And yeah, and then Chucky kills the other guy. And then the cover gallery is basically, we have a cover gallery just all the covers throughout all the comic books they have here. And then we have pinups, and that's the book in a nutshell. Really enjoyable book. I enjoy this. Still a lot of stuff for hack slash to cover, so there's that. So that is pretty much it for this particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up we have is, well, One Punch Man. Okay? Next video. Bye.